Hello and welcome to Mindful Living, where we explore the art of living with the intention, balance, and inner peace. I am Avik, your host, guiding you through conversations on health, meditation, mental well being, mindfulness, and the mind body connection. Each episode features expert insights to help you grow, heal, and thrive. So, take a deep breath, relax, and join us on this journey to a more mindful and fulfilling life. So, let's get started.
Hello and welcome back, listeners, to the Mindful Living podcast. I'm your host, Sana, and today we have an incredible, inspiring conversation lined up for you with our inspiring guest, Sabrina Guler, a serial entrepreneur and spiritual leader. By the age of 31, Sabrina scaled an $85 million real estate business, all while embracing her deep connection to intuition and inner growth. As the founder of the Intuitive CEO, Sabrina's mission is to help others integrate spirituality into their leadership and entrepreneurial journeys. So, today on the Mindful Living, we'll explore how Sabrina uses mindfulness and intuition to lead with purpose and creating lasting success. So, let's dive into this powerful conversation. Sabrina, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute honor to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to share and be on.
Great. So, a very interesting discussion we are going to have. Your journey is rooted in both entrepreneurial success and deep spiritual growth. How did mindfulness play a role in developing your intuitive leadership style? How does it work, if you can explain?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So I think when you look at starting a business and when you look at not only creating a product or a service, but also building a team and building a culture within your company, it all starts from you. It all starts from your leadership. There's a saying that many of us have heard, and it says it all starts from the top, right? And so when we work on ourselves, when we are in tune with how we help grow other people and we are invested in our own personal transformation, it is a direct reflection in the people that we hire, the vision that we foster in others, the customers that we help through our products and our services. And so for me, I found that the more I invested in myself, the more abundance I experienced from a wealth point of view, but also from the richness of having knowledge and the richness of having connection with other people.
Hmm, that makes sense. Many leaders, they rely heavily on strategy and analytics. They just make or they believe in making decisions through data. How do you blend mindful practices like presence and awareness with intuition when making critical business decisions?
Yeah, so first of all, I love to say that they are never separate, even if you want to make them separate. The being a human, I like to say, is all about mastering emotion
Yeah.
and decision making with emotion. And so no matter what hat you have on as a founder, CEO, leader of a company, you are always making decisions from your experiences that you have as a person, whether they be good or bad, and from your peripheral view from that experience. So I like to say that the reason why we look at data and we look at analytics is to help us make better decisions. But ultimately, we make a lot of our decisions from how we view the world from our own experiences.
Correct.
And so, if you look at that just the way that it is, right? If we're making decisions based on our experiences, those experiences that we've had, again, good or bad, are remembered from a neurological point of view, are remembered from how we felt in that moment. So, for example, if you are a leader of a company and you've had incredible experiences doing public speaking and you've connected with other people, you've sold products, you've made your point, you've had great presentations, you're going to have the confidence to do more of those because you've had a good experience. And what defines confidence is someone who feels good about doing something over and over again and knows that they're going to have a good experience from doing that. And so when we look at balancing our strategy with emotions, what I like to do is I like to say, yes, bring me the data, bring me the analytics, show me the hard facts to something, because those things are very important, especially if you don't have experience in something, right? And you're looking at helping you make an informed decision. But I also think that if you're only looking at data and you're not incorporating your intuition, you're not incorporating certain things that are very qualitative, then I also think you're doing your business a huge disservice, because some of the most incredible opportunities and introductions to people and also ideas that we get to make our businesses better do not come from a place of logic and data. They come from inspired action.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when those things typically don't make sense on paper. So I think you can't be too one-sided. I think asking yourself if you've incorporated both is very important.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. And we have had so many conversations on mindful living, talking about how mindfulness in moments of high stress or uncertainty or confusion, it can offer clarity. So, can you share, Sabrina, how you leverage mindfulness techniques to stay grounded and tap into your intuition during difficult times?
Ooh, during difficult times. So, I was just talking about this with someone else this morning. About someone asked me, do I believe in structured morning routines?
Uh-huh.
And my answer is no, I don't. And here's why.
Uh-huh.
So I believe that every single person listening to this podcast has a natural rhythm and a natural way to soothe themselves without stimulants, right? Without alcohol, without any of those things. And when I say a natural ability, what I mean is to have a baseline within their bodies that make them feel grounded, centered, and at peace with who they are and who they are becoming. Okay. And when I say that, I mean that what works for somebody doesn't necessarily mean that it works for everybody. So I'll give you a really good example. For me, I consider myself to have an amazing day when I go for an hour-long walk outside, when I take time for myself to be creative, because my business does not evolve, it cannot grow unless I, as the founder, have time to think creatively without discipline and structure. So I need time to think openly and freely and be able to kind of let my mind run, right? And run laps. And so I love having creative time. And then equally, I also consider my day to be incredibly fulfilling when I feel like I'm moving the needle towards something, whether that be to create the back end of a webinar or an email campaign series, right? Taking the tactical action towards my vision. And so I find that if I'm doing those three things a day, it doesn't matter how horrible the day is. I feel incredibly grounded as a person because I honored the things that I love most that really make me feel like I'm being true to myself. And so when we look at like morning routines or all these structures and disciplines and things that people feel like they have to do, by the way, including meditation, like, we can sit here and gasp like, oh my God, Sabrina doesn't believe in meditating every day. And the thing is, it's not that I don't believe in it. It's not like I don't enjoy it. I just find that if you can find an activity that has the same effects as that, for example, going on a meditative walk or listening to music that really grounds you, right? If you can have an experience similar to that, that you feel very connected to, then that is all that matters, is that it works for you. And so I think as a part of incorporating intuition as a founder and as an entrepreneur and having a healthy mind, I think people have to really ask themselves, what makes me feel good? Like, not money, not materialism, not what's on your Google Analytics dashboard this morning. It's what, if all of those things didn't, if the results and the outcomes of the things that you are creating didn't happen, how do you center yourself as a person? And I think if you can find out what that is without obsessively looking for the answers in other people, you've mastered the art of your own nervous system and grounding yourself. And to me, that's like worth $1 million, right? Like that's priceless.
Wow, that's a great answer, Sabrina. That completely gives a different perspective on, the generic techniques which we see, deep breathing, meditation, and all. But that is really, really fulfilling. Lovely, lovely, Sabrina. Okay, so entrepreneurs often struggle with balancing hustle and inner peace. I mean, it's like two separate worlds. How do you integrate mindfulness into your daily routine to create harmony between action and reflection in your leadership?
So I'm going to give a tactical tool that I recently learned that changed my life. Um, and it solves the everyday battle between that, but I do think that at a larger scale that's a huge problem. But I'm going to give a tactical tool that helps like spot remediate if you're going through that. So I believe, for those listening, I used to work for Apple and I had a corporate background, and some of my superpower skills are I learned how to, I was a project manager for Apple. And so I built like multi $100 million, $1 billion products like AirPods Max and iPhones, right? And I managed hundreds of people working for these companies. And so one of my superpowers is operations, scaling products, scaling teams, writing 1,000 SOPs, hiring, delegating. Like that's what I did for 8 years in the corporate world. And then when I built my business, I run an $85 million private equity fund that buys single family homes. And I was responsible for the construction, the renovations, the furnishing, the design of 150 properties nationwide alongside a team of 80 people. So I just want to pause right there and give the audience an idea of how much strategy there needs to be involved with doing any of those things. Okay. Just I want to give a background here so people understand, like, okay, she knows what she's talking about from the tactical side of things. So there's one thing. And as an entrepreneur, when you are building a business, there 100% needs to be strategy, steps, discipline, and structure. I mean, you can't move the needle without those things. So I just want to set that up front. Like, I understand that is 100% needed, especially to grow. And so I find that when you are doing any of those things, growth, hiring, delegating, scaling, anything operationally, it requires you to be on something called manager's time. Okay. And what is manager's time? Manager's time is when you are more productive working with other people and doing task based things, items in your day to move the needle. So that means creating SOPs, training people, going through accounting, right? Doing things that are not very exciting as entrepreneurs, but essentially they propel you towards growth. So they're like indirectly exciting, right? They're indirectly fueling you as a soul, as a person. So that's called manager's time. Manager's time is technically you are more productive when other people are on calls with you. So you're like working with vendors, training people. Like, people need you to do their job better. Okay. And so I want to set that aside. So that's called manager's time. And I lived on manager's time for almost a decade. So all I was used to was filling up my calendar to train a bunch of people help me move the needle to wherever I was going, right? Whether it be at Apple or whether it be my business. And then when I became an entrepreneur, I realized that if I wasn't managing my time right, I was also neglecting this other part of my business that was equally important to move different types of needles, right? To move different types of growth. And I like to call this growth maker's time, okay? By the way, this is a known phenomenon. You can Google it. I didn't make up this strategy. This is a known thing that I learned recently that changed my life. And so what is maker's time? So maker's time is where you have a designated amount of time to create that is completely uninterrupted. And as a founder, when you started your business at the very beginning, you probably started it in maker's time, which means that you were uninterrupted, you were wildly creative, and you birthed your business from a place of pure creativity, ideation, with no rules and no boundaries, right? And when you started your business and you were in startup mode, you had to scale your business and run your business and start it and do all these things. And we become very scrappy and we become very chaotic in that phase. And there's really no systems in place. And so maker's time to be creative is arguably the most important time to actually move your business towards growth, because it's where you as a founder understand your customers, look at the industry and see where things are heading. It's where you can create new products, new ways to solve problems, right? And so when you have maker's time, it fuels the ability for you to train other people and give them instruction to be able to solve the problems that you need as a business. And then, apologies, I have my dog is barking behind me. And so I think when you look at those two things, and I help a lot of founders designate these two things in their business. So you need maker's time uninterrupted, and they cannot cross paths with manager's time. So if you have maker's time, it's typically about 4 hours of non-interrupted creativity, and then you can have your manager's time. So you have a block of time. So, and for those listening, a lot of people have different bursts of creativity, right? So you can either have creativity for me, it's at 8 in the morning, right? So me having this podcast with you, it's 9:51 in the morning. This is my jam. This is where I can think creatively. Now, if I had meetings that jumbled in this time frame, I would feel like I got nothing done. When we mix the two together, it tends to feel like you have those days where you're like, I feel like I got nothing done, but I know that I got something done, and I don't know why I feel this way. And so what I like to say is, if you designate time and you split your day between these two things, first of all, it'll feel like you have two different days because you gave the space for you to be the founder that everyone needs you to be. But then it also gives you the time to manage people effectively. And so going back to what you're saying is, how do I practice mindfulness? How do I blend intuition with strategy? I blend them, but I blend them in a very structured way that allows both things to fuel me as a person, fuel my team and my business without it sacrificing what actually needs to get done on a day-to-day basis.
Mhm. Wow, that is something new. A great takeaway from this episode, Sabrina, and thanks for sharing this with
Yeah,
us.
sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
No, what that was really, really interesting to know. Really interesting. Okay. Some people think mindfulness practices they belong in personal life, not in the boardroom. How do you address those who feel that introducing spirituality and intuition into leadership might blur the lines between professionalism and personal beliefs?
You mean like how can they exist together? Like how do they not sabotage each other?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I think that, well, I believe and I know this because I've seen this just happen with so many different types of founders, but if you are sacrificing one or the other, it's impossible for you to fully grow into your highest potential. So if you completely lack strategy, then you will suffer, right? If you completely lack intuition, creativity, and inspiration, you will also suffer. And I like to look at this as almost like yin and yang, right? Or masculine and feminine energies within business. And I believe that when they are balanced fully, the best, most incredible opportunities happen. But if one is overcompensating the other, it's typically coming from a wounded space. So if you never have time to create, it's because probably you're swamped with doing too much. And essentially, there's a part of you that doesn't want to delegate, or you financially can't delegate. Something there is happening where you cannot let go. And if you can't let go, your business suffers, right? And so I don't think it's one or the other. I think they both need to balance each other out. And I think without that, you and your business will suffer.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. Great, great, Sabrina. And before we wrap up, for listeners who may be new to combining mindfulness with leadership, what are some simple practices they can adopt to begin leading from a place of intuition and inner alignment?
Some daily practices, yeah. I think again, it's however people connect most with themselves. But for me, I love to spend time outside. I spend 1 hour a day outside, and it's completely uninterrupted. So no phone calls, nothing other than music. I think breath work is incredibly powerful. If you're someone who feels creatively blocked, you're having a block. Going through a breathwork session is amazing. I actually am planning on facilitating breathwork. I'm someone who has practiced before, and so I plan on hosting a free group session. So definitely check out my website, and you can join one there. I also think that hanging around people that are also on a path similar to yours is really, really healthy. I know that that's an odd mindfulness practice, but I think being around the presence of others who have healthy self-soothing practices is also so good for your nervous system. And, going back to the tip I shared before, really balancing makers and managers time is huge. And I think
Yeah.
if you found a system with that, you would be incredibly balanced and you would have time for all the things that you really care about.
Lovely. That is lovely, Sabrina. And if our listeners want to connect with you, explore about your intuitive leadership style, how they can do that.
You can visit my website at sabrinaguler.com or find me on Instagram. I have everything linked in both places.
Great. We'll have all the details mentioned in the show notes. And Sabrina, thank you so much for this thoughtful and profound conversation on intuition and mindfulness and leadership, and also sharing your incredible journey and insights. And it's really been an eye opening discussion to see how you bring a sense of presence, purpose, and inner clarity into your role as an entrepreneur. So, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Amazing. Thanks for having me.
And for our listeners, if you're looking to align your business with your spiritual growth, be sure to explore Sabrina's work. You can refer the show notes along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. And thank you to everyone for tuning to this episode of The Mindful Living. Until next time, stay present and lead with heart. Thank you.